Don't let anybody take your manhood. Be proud of our heritage. They made everything black, ugly, and evil. Look in your dictionary and see the synonyms of the word black. But I want to get the language right tonight.
I had a dream black folks wouldn't feed for esteem for white folks regime and cream that's lean and watered down. Cause we in quarantine, don't mean we corner now. Ray came the king, the vaccine for your boredom now. Recorded sounds with my voice is awarded now. Fuck Grammys, got my love from the underground. 2 ovations, I take a formal bow, but no normal crowns for this immortal brown man. Spitting from the murder mitten, your chick smitten, whether they chickens are giving admittance to Hilton head living. My lyrical spells ain't wicked, they fill with melanin cognition when I'm killing the competition. They screaming, this supposed to be an exhibition. Throw the towel in, there's a soul that's so spry. I don't want no cries, if he dies, he dies. Surprise, surprise, I'm raw, no cut. And if you doubt my rise, you can get these nuts. Dreams, dreams of black queens and kings. Yeah. Dreams, dreams of black figurines. We are ancestors' wildest dreams. I can't help but be the shit, cause it's in my genes.
Believe in yourself and believe that you're somebody.
Let's get it, yo. Just relax as I take my rightful throne. I don't condone bitching and moans when the mics is on. It's like I'm throwing the Oliver and Emma Jeans home. They saying, go on, boy, be everything that we've known. You could be. I'm simply a new version of this rich heritage. Ain't no comparison to this greatness I inherited. So I'm never hesitant to speak on what my merit is. So the error is to think my narrative ain't imperative to change it what this era is. They call me a heretic cause I'm spirited. These rhymes is my sedative and my therapist resides in this edifice. In this black skin despite their efforts they well versed cause it was here well first. I am an expert at saying these textured verses. My curses get worse but lack I murk. Dreams, dreams of black queens and kings. Yeah. Dreams, dreams of black figurines. We are ancestors' wildest dreams. I can't help but be the shit cause it's in my genes.
If the Negro is to be free, he must move down into the inner resources of his own soul and sign with a pen his own emancipation.
Dreams, dreams of black queens and kings. Yeah. Dreams, dreams of black figurines. We are ancestors' wildest dreams. I can't help but be the shit cause it's in my genes.
All right, cool. All right, Trayce Brooks, Eric Lampkin. Eric Lampkin is our guest tonight. Welcome to the Wealthy Thoughts Show.
Can you hear us,
Eric? Can you hear us, Eric? I don't know if he can hear us. But anyway, Trayce, welcome back. We finally made it back, huh?
We did. We've been talking about this for a while.
And,
yeah, absolutely. And like I said, I'm excited to be here and be on the platform with you and with Eric. Talk about some things.
So just to tell people about how the show is gonna run, we're gonna try to have guests most weeks. A guest from a different type of business venue so they can talk about their business and try to explain their business so that we can, so that the people that's watching can see how that business may work for them. Mm-hmm. We lost Eric for a second. So just for a second, Trayce, mm-hmm. You got anything on the burner that you got going?
Well, I'm new to working for a municipality.
Okay.
Just started a new job a few weeks ago. Working for the city of Detroit, Department of Transportation. So, just really excited about that opportunity. A lot of great things are happening in Detroit and in metropolitan cities across the country. So.
Okay. So we got Eric back. Eric, I think he's back now. You good now, Eric?
I think I was good. We'll see. Praise the Lord.
Hopefully you stay with us this time. So Eric, man,
brother, I'm trying to stay with you. Taja was trying to say hi, but she ran in and ran out.
Okay, tell Taja I said what's up.
Oh, okay. Taja said what's up. She said,
What up, no? What up, no?
She told me something. I'm out. I was like, boy, you do it. How come I can't put no background on here,
I'm
man?
gonna get her
That's
on the,
terrible.
I need her to get on the show one day because she does banking, don't she?
Yeah, she does all of that. She's a VP and over at Capital One, and she's been in the banking industry for about 25 plus years.
Okay.
From
Hey, do me a
Capital
favor, man.
One to Chase. Yo,
Do me a quick favor. Try to pull
yeah,
your camera down just a little bit so we can see your wonderful face.
yeah, and everything back in the background. Okay, yeah, go ahead.
We can't see everything in the background.
It's all right. It's all praise the
It's
Lord.
all
I got my afro, holding in.
hey, I got something up
I'm
here.
not studying you in your afro right now. I'm not even putting you up.
So Eric, man,
This
look,
this
I got
live
you on here.
this all is good. This Roxanne Shante live on stage, so we good. Let's do it.
Hey, man, I got you on here because, of course, I told you I want to talk about life insurance.
Okay.
And I want you to tell us about how long you been in life insurance.
So initially, I got exposed to it back in 1989 when I got out of high school.
Okay.
So the quick story was my mom said, "Hey, look, y'all young men are being killed in Detroit, and I'm not taking my retirement and pension to try to bury you. I need you to get insurance." So I went and got it. She called up the guy up the street. He was insurance agent. I don't even remember the name of the company at that time. Got insurance. I think it was $20. Well, I don't think it was $20 for $14,000 of insurance. It was a whole life policy. Then I met a gentleman by the name of Tyrone Taylor out of Detroit. That was my mentor. He worked at, or still does, for Primerica Financial Services. And then he came and sat down with me, had a great presentation, and he explained, Bank A, Bank B. And when he did that, we called the other insurance agent to call him back because he explained some things I never heard. And so when we got back, I asked him, you could have sold me the same policy or the same type policy, meaning term insurance, for $150,000, but you sold me for the same $20. So my question was, why didn't you sell me the $150,000 instead of selling me the $14,000? And he said to me that, oh yeah, we talking about it. I don't even have to use no company, but I could just, right off the cuff on it. And so he mentioned that, well, I don't make any money, meaning his company doesn't major in term insurance. They only make money by selling whole life policies. Okay. So I said, but my family can use $150,000 much easier. My mother, much more than she can of $14,000, which is usually just in this. Now you have to understand the backdrop of insurance, since we're talking about it. The father of insurance is term insurance, period. So when they were bringing cargo, slaves, whatever you want to call it, over from the East, and it's in a book. It's called "What's Wrong with Your Life Insurance" by Norman Dayton. He talks about the Queen had insurance on her cargo, i.e., slaves, so on and so forth. And so then after the Great Depression, they came up with another policy, which was called whole life insurance, right? And from that, you have where you could, but whole life insurance was initially not for families, it was for businesses. Okay. And so they later brought it out where they were put or middle income families. And then as they were redlining African American homes, so like they were redlining for homes, they were redlining for life insurance, which meant that you can only get about 10,000 or 20,000 just to bury you, and that was it. So that's the long story short. Left the business, came back, joined back up again. I've always been a client, knew various people in the company, that kind of stuff. I don't have any issues with it. I don't have any sob stories. I have good stories. I think that's about it for that. Yeah.
Okay. So you with Primerica?
Yep.
And what other services do you do with Primerica?
Well, I can do anything. So I have a multiplicity of business partners, obviously. So I'm in about 7 or 8 different states total, with all of them about 15 to 20. The goal is to be in all 50 states by next year,
Okay.
and be in a position where I have ownership. Um, and that's pretty much about it under the auspice of Back to Heaven Ministries.
Okay. Okay. We'll talk about Back to Heaven in just a second. I want to stick with the life insurance
Right.
first.
Mm-hmm.
and so with the
I try to leave out the name per se. You know what I'm saying?
what's that? What you mean?
But it's all good. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. Keep going. You good?
Okay, okay. So the with the life insurance, is there any time that you would recommend anybody getting whole life?
So the issue that people don't understand about whole life is this: unless you have it structured properly, then it's not a good fit. But that's any insurance. The problem that you have, whether it's no matter what company, most people, and I'm not going to say all, but generally speaking, they're there to make a sale. So they are educating you on product instead of educating you on the industry. So, so if I educate you on, let's say, for instance, I educate you on being a firefighter. It doesn't matter what type of fire you're fighting. It doesn't matter what state you're in, as long as you understand the basics to firefighting, right?
Okay.
And so, like with the life insurance, usually, and you hear Waka Flocka and some of the other affluent people who have money, in certain instances, those are good to have. A whole life policies are good to have. However, most of the families that you're dealing with, middle income and lower income, just by numbers, the better policy would be a term policy, because you have more face amount and you pay lesser premium, right? And you can do the numbers, and that it really doesn't matter what company you get. Term is term. Now, all terms are not equal, obviously, and whole life is whole life. So usually you could. I'm just throwing out numbers right at the moment. Let's say you got $100,000 from a husband and wife face amount, and they could be paying 200 or even possibly 300, depending on their age. Whereas if you have the same term policy for the same age family, you might get anywhere from 200,000, 300,000, and you're not paying the enormous premium, which would be it could be anywhere from 50 to 100, maybe 150. So you're always going to get more face amount than you get with premium, with term, and you're always going to get more higher premiums than face amount with term. But it also depends on how it's structured. I mean, we had these what you call them enemy confrontations and sit down. It's just a matter of sitting down and talking to a family. And what happens is typically, and this is all in the insurance industry, it's just a matter of somebody wants to share it or not. If you do a thing called the DIME method, which goes into your death, which is death and income, death and debt. The I is for income, the M is for mortgage, and the E is for education. So usually if you calculate those up, and then the insurance industry or the experts say that you should have 7 to 10 times your income. Well, if it's 7 or 10 times your income, if I make 70 grand, I need 700,000. Well, based on my age, it's going to be a lot, just period. But no one wants to explain it. But the other side of the coin is, my job is not to come in and sit down with you and sell you a policy, which now we're getting into product. My job is to sit down and look at your complete financial picture. And I know we say, you hear all these verbiages. I'm going to sit down and I'm going to educate you. My job is to sit down and educate you on all across the board and find ways to free up money along with the education. And then we'll get into what things can best serve you. And you go from there. And so I've been very good at doing that. I'm always running into people who, and generally the bigger thing is not only just the company or whoever you're representing, but it's the individual. Some people rock with somebody because I like what they're doing. Well, you know what, you get me. And I'm going to do my best to serve you as best as I can and come up with a strategy or game plan to get you to your end goal. The end goal, obviously, is financial independence, building your family, protecting your family, and those kind of things.
Okay. So, you know, over the years, Primerica gets a bad rap, gets the name, the pyramid scheme and stuff like that. So, what made you stay with Primerica over the years?
Well, because I mean, I've been on the front side and the back side. So, yeah, can you hear me? I've been on the front side and the back side of it. So, I haven't seen any bad things. Yeah, most of the time, man, it's most of the time people have an issue either because they didn't do their due diligence, or they got with someone or an agent or whatever, and they didn't like the results, or they didn't follow through with the recommendations. A lot of times I see people don't follow through with recommendations. Like if you go to the doctor and the doctor tells you this is what you should do, and you don't follow through with him, then how are you going to get mad at the doctor?
Gotcha.
You know, and I'm just saying, I've seen everything up under the sun. I've seen them take care of families. 9/11, this is documented information. They were down at the site when 9/11 happened. It was only two companies that paid out their death claims, USAA and Primerica. And as they were pulling people out, they were down there cutting checks. You know?
Okay.
I mean, I'm just saying, you know, and then also too, you have to understand people find ways, that people or the powers that be find ways to label you bad, because usually we don't do our due diligence in investigating. And I'm not talking about investigating and talking to a next broke person or reading the information that scrolls at the bottom when people put in tweets or whatever the case may be, but go talk to or go look up those professional companies and find out what they say. And you'll find also too, if Primerica is so bad, most of the people in all 50 states, the companies, they actually have stock in our company. So if we so bad, then why they got stock in the company?
Gotcha. Tracy, you got any questions?
But the average person doesn't do their research to find that information.
No, just listening, it's very fascinating and very educational. I would say, just some of the things that you shared, and I've talked to a number of, folks about insurance over the years, and, currently have insurance, but just, listening to him break down the differences between the term and the whole life. I think that information, and I think a lot of people out there just appreciate having that information and that wisdom to be able to make informed decisions about their lives. So
it's a numbers thing, sweetie. At the end of the day, the numbers don't lie, but people do. So, like I said, I've been, You laughing? I've been in it. I've been in it. Say it again.
I was about to say numbers can lie
up a little bit.
I'm just messing with you.
Numbers can lie because people put the wrong equations in, but they don't lie. You already know. You deal with stuff, so you put this wrong thing in here. The equation says it's gonna blow up, but you can make it say what you want to say. But but honestly, just from, and I'm not speaking on it because all the things I'm doing. I'm just speaking on it from my life experiences. Let's just say it this way, just as a whole in our community. I buried over 2,000 families, helped 2,000 families, but out of the 2,005 families only had insurance, and out of the 5, only 3 had the right kind, meaning they had enough insurance, or in other words, income protection, income replacement, because that's actually what insurance is. It's replacing the income of a loved one so that you can still function while they're gone. Now, you missed the loved one, but let's just be real. You missed the income that they were bringing in. So basically what you're doing, you're buying insurance into your future and bringing it to your now in case someone dies. Now, in the meantime, insurance is not the end game. The end game is to be financially independent. So you have to be using your investments, or you should be investing, or someone educating you on how to invest, but they don't. They don't educate you on taxes. They don't educate you on debt consolidation. They don't educate you on how to make your money work for you in your check, those things. And so as a result, you run the risk of losing a lot of stuff. And then 20 and 30 years later, different things have happened. And now you're having to deal with a lot of different issues. But that comes from just going to the library and reading. People don't want to read. They want to blame someone and take responsibility. I mean, I got a bunch of horses. I got a horror story just in my own family. So I really don't need nobody else's story at all. I mean, I'm serious. I'll just give you the real. So my mom got insurance on my brother. He had a $300,000 policy. In 10 years, it moved to $600,000, but he let it lapse and didn't tell anybody. And so his wife, actually, our company, the underwriting department, which is not our company, they chose to insure her because she had a trach in her throat. So she passed away. Had I known, some different things, we've seen multiple times where Primerica has helped and assisted in paying death claims, and they would have done that, but I couldn't get to it. But my point is, that's a major blow. So now he has to. We're helping and assisting as you should, but that $600,000 would have been tremendous for his two daughters and himself, right? Just on the investment side, my mother started an investment of $100 and she canceled it after 10 years. Had she to let that investment, that same $100, that measly 12% or 9%, and I'm being very extremely conservative, I calculated it out by today's dollars. At now, my mother would be sitting on $1.2 to $2 million today's date. So that would mean our family, whenever she passes away, praise the Lord, her three sons would be splitting that money. So that's generational wealth. And you get to have the insurance to go with it. So I don't play no games with people about that kind of stuff. I don't.
So where are you licensed at now?
I think Ohio, North Carolina, Texas, Detroit, St. Louis, Virginia, Florida, New York. I had to look up at I got my little board up there in front of me.
No problem. That's your little vision board. That's your vision board.
Oh, absolutely. I got a map up there to tell me where I'm at. So yeah, those and yeah. So looking to knock out. Actually, I have somebody in Atlanta, so she's fully licensed. So those arenas and looking to knock out Atlanta and add a couple of places because I'm being busy there more often, and then I'm having to fly up because I'm working to grow and build my team and stuff.
Got you. All right, so now I'm gonna use this last 10 minutes that we got to talk about. I want to talk about Back to Heaven. What's Back to Heaven about?
Oh, bless your heart.
I said, we talk about the whole. You the guest, man. We talking about.
I know you. Yeah, I know you. So Back to Heaven Music Ministry initially started out teaching and preaching about music, practicing the presence of God. Then it later moved into all of the different things that we deal with. So under that, we will have. It's called. Tyja has a business that she's working on called HG Consultant. She was in the music industry for a number of years, actually for about 20 or 30 years. And so just being able to help give guidance to a lot of the artists, the same old school way, just learning them how to handle business, learning how to handle things, what to look for, having great managers. She's a phenomenal person in herself. So that's all up under that umbrella. And then Back to Heaven Family Worship Center. That's the church that we started. So we're meeting, since COVID, we're starting to get things back up and moving. But I'm pastoring out of multiple states from different families. The simple thing with that is we're reaching one family, bringing them closer together, one family at a time. That's real simple. Other than that, just teaching a holistic approach to your roots, your family, God, how to hear God, which is the number one thing. If I teach you how to hear God, you won't have no problem doing all the rest of the stuff.
Okay, cool. So
Yeah, Tracy, you looking at me funny. I saw you over there. I can see you with the dark light part, the dark light. Yeah, no,
So when the album coming out?
I don't. You know what? That's funny. I'm actually in the works with that. I'm talking to a good friend of mine. We're working on that. He's in Florida, so we're just working on getting. There are 2 songs that I want to do off his album. Phenomenal dude. I asked his permission. Could I redo that? And then there is one song that I'm working on doing. So I'll say it's in the works. The process has been started, thank God. So yeah, that is in the works finally.
You need some beats, you know you can hit me up.
I bless your kidneys. I absolutely. Because you do have skills.
I got a little bit of something.
Or Michael that he's hitting up.
Or Michael. Oh yeah, Michael or me. It most likely be more like Michael, not Michael has surpassed me. Michael has taken over the game.
Michael taking over the game.
Yeah, he's taking it over. I'm just here for now. I'm just here to enjoy his rise now.
That's what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to let him take over the game. Shoot,
that's what it is. That's what it is. So Tracy, look, it's on you now. Tracy, what we talking about?
She ready to ask me the hard question. I see she been waiting patiently.
No, I honestly, like I said, I try to listen,
Okay.
Listen. And so, like I said, no, not really a whole lot of comment. I was listening about the ministry and music ministry. Randy and I were talking earlier before we started just about, how things have changed since the pandemic, especially church, meeting in spaces, praise and worship is very different. A lot of, of that move to virtual platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's kind of a hybrid,
right.
Still happening virtually, but also people are meeting back in person.
Mm-hmm.
So I did have the opportunity recently to attend church with my daughter.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah, it was very interesting, actually. She's a college freshman now, but her last year of high school, she graduated in May.
Okay.
And one of her teachers said that he would give extra credit to the students if they came to church on Sunday. Which
you should have told me so I could go there. Sure, I like that extra credit.
and the interesting piece about that was my mom, God rest her soul, she passed away last year, but just really devout in her faith, and my brothers and I are all raised in a Christian home, and so my mom had recently passed away, and so my daughter was very adamant that we go to church, and I had not been in a while, so I'm not gonna lie, I'm like, but we got up.
That's good.
We went.
That's good.
It was really a blessing. And I will say that I could really feel, the presence of God in that place and in that space. And it was wonderful just to, first of all, be back fellowshipping with the saints.
No, I was just saying that's good.
In person, but also
right.
That was the thing that really moved me, to see these young people there in church, and the parents that came. Some parents were dropping kids off, but there were those of us who stayed, and we were all kind of saying the same thing, that it was just really a dynamic and bold move of that teacher to say, I'm going to give you extra credit. I had never seen, and I used to work in youth ministry for many years when I was in college and even after I graduated. So it just really blessed my heart to see, I want to say there were roughly about 40 seniors that showed up. And the church, the pastor was so just moved. He called them all up. He had altar call. They prayed over them and then invited them to come back because they wanted to give them all Bibles. So, just hearing about, your project that you're working on, those types of things are really timely and relevant for today, because we just got a lot of things going on in the world. And we just have to say, to me, God is needed. I hear a lot of people talking about their faith. I hear a lot of people talking about God. And I really feel like we need to live the faith and live the philosophy that we're talking about.
Correct. Correct.
That's
really
important. Yeah, I think that's important. And like I said, it really blessed my heart to see those young people come out, and for that teacher to challenge them in that way. And, hopefully those young folks, all got their Bibles, and wherever they are right now, and at least they seem to on that Sunday, but are thinking about, what's my purpose? What is God calling me to do? And just really being out here and, living and fulfilling our purpose. So
okay. That makes it good. I like that.
Yeah, that was good.
I like that. Well, I'm real simple about it. I mean, you do need to know, have a relationship, a working relationship with God, obviously. And with all of the changes, for me, I mean, it didn't bother me in no way. It gave you an opportunity to do the thing that you should have been doing at church at home, which is fellowshipping with your family, because oftentimes it's much easier for us to fellowship with someone else than to really work on fellowshipping with our family members at home. And then what happens, you grow up teaching them, but you have to stay consistent with it, because if you let it slip, it's such a hard battle to fight with everybody's emotions to get back to doing what God told you to do. But now you get to see everybody's quirks and issues. So you're really having to operate or extend the love of God the way it's supposed to be toward our fellow man, and especially our wife, our husband, and all of that. And then, people going crazy because I got to see you every day, all day, but it's no different if you worked in church. I worked in church. I served in church. I've been in church all. I done heard every excuse, but what I understood is the scripture is very adamant. I'll let nothing separate me from the love of God. And I'm not going to let, because I work with somebody and they acting crazy, stop me from going to fellowship. Now, that was just me. I do know situations happen, but I'm going to go somewhere because God has been too good, meaning I've had a definite encounter with God that has changed my life for the better to make me want to pursue God. Even when I was in ministry, in terms of I was doing praise and worship, serving. I mean, I did everything in church, so it really doesn't matter because I love people. But you first have to love God, then love yourself, and then want to serve people. And at the end of the day, as my father would say, someone helped you get here, even bringing you into the world. So you're going to always owe somebody. So it's an issue of service. So you have to check your heart. And the Bible is very clear about not forsaking yourself the assembly with other believers. No different than going to the club. If you want to keep up with the latest dance steps, you got to go to the club. If you want to keep up with the latest streetwalkers, then you got to be on point and you got to hang out with them. So whatever it is, you have to keep up with it and go there. Randy, you already know I am. I don't know why you clowning. And but when it comes to God, or it comes to the church, we're fighting a zillion ways of why it's a problem. Which, okay, it is, but did they not change your life? Did they not bless you? Did you not come into the faith or your faith or whatever the case may be? And I did. So I got the negative part, but let me focus on the benefits and the positive part. I'm constantly, even as our church is growing, which is funny, they're growing because I really haven't done anything. I really was pushing people to go to other churches because I'm pastoring kind of like out of state. Some people here, some people there. People that have been knowing me for years is like, hey, you and Ty just tight. I love y'all, and I want y'all to be my pastor, and God bless. And that's what the Lord said. Okay, well, we got internet, right? And I was like, yeah. I said, well, what do you want me to do? Just keep doing what you've been doing. Well, I've been praying and doing all that. You want me to do that? Yeah, keep doing that. So literally, that's been happening then through, because you being a blessing to your congregation or the people that God is bringing your life to serve, whether you're serving them for a season or a lifetime. My job is to serve them so that they can hear God and go forth and do the things that God has called them to do, bar none.
Cool. All right, then. So
did I do good, Randy?
Oh, man,
That's my roadblock.
Hey, that's the other way around.
Hey, you my role model, baby.
So look, Trayce, you had you came up with a good thing to talk about tonight. As we said before with the show,
I'm full of information.
Eric, I told you about the show. I told you about the show before, how the old show is. Some of the old shows are still online. You can still go on YouTube and find them. That show was called the What's the What Show.
Yeah,
we would start the show off talking about Black businesses. I always would promote some type of Black business. Today, the promotion of the Black business was you. We want to promote your business, talk about what you got going on.
Yeah, you was trying to set me up and get me ready. So I appreciate you getting me out of the secret. My secret spot. I stayed low ground, low key.
Yeah. So then after we talked about the Black business, then we would talk about different pop stuff that was going on in pop culture, or just a different topic that we might think of at the time. So she got a topic for us.
You run it.
Go ahead on with your topic.
Trayce got some stuff for me. All right. Let the pastor answer the questions. I'm like, yeah.
So one of the things that has, just kind of been on my mind is, and this is, ongoing conversation, but I think for a lot of folks, especially, as we're talking politics, we're here,
right,
literally day after election. But do African Americans, minorities, folks of color feel like they are stuck in a bad marriage with being a Democratic Party? And, is there what more or what things should our Democratic politicians be doing, and what should we be doing as a party to really pay more attention, and come up with some really viable solutions and change to make things more of a positive impact for the folks that have voted for them and put them in office?
Okay. So I was paying attention to what happened yesterday, and Democrats, as far as the Senate goes, I mean, they did a lot better than people thought they were going to do. They did. They did.
Bless their kids.
But I noticed here in Georgia, something that came up here in Georgia with Stacey Abrams losing. A lot of people got, because Killer Mike was on Charlemagne's show a few weeks ago. Yeah, I don't know, it was last week or a few weeks ago, and he said something to the effect that Brian Kemp was running a good campaign. And he was going out and he was actually talking to the Black boys, Black men, and that Stacey Abrams wasn't reaching out to the Black men. So I happened to see something this morning after she lost. And it said it's y'all Black men fault that Stacey Abrams lost. And I'm like she for me, just to be honest, for me, I didn't like neither one of them. And so she didn't do anything to me that made me feel like you were gonna do anything for Black, not just me and Black people. You were gonna do the same status quo that Democrats do, which is I'm gonna help everybody. But everybody don't necessarily need help the way Black people need help. So that when I hear that everybody thing, it shuts me down totally. I'm like, I don't want to hear that. We've been doing everybody forever.
So you want them to lie to you?
I need them to say the same thing they do when it's Asians, an Asian hate crime bill. I need you to say a Black hate crime bill. I need you. Don't get me wrong. When there's an Asian hate crime bill, I'm not going to say that other groups don't get affected by that. No doubt. But you call it an Asian hate crime bill. So that means that you are focusing on them. Where was ours at? You know what I'm saying? So when you say you're doing stuff for LGBTQ, you're focusing on LGBTQ. Where is the focus on Black, especially foundational Black Americans that's been here and their descendants have been here, not just, people, not just immigrants that's coming over in the last 20, 30 years. And there's nothing wrong with the immigrants at the end of the day. They're going to get something out of any of these bills that come along. But the thing is, any bill that come along, most is going to have something in there for everybody. But what's the problem with naming it for us if it's something that we truly deal with and we truly need help with? And so when I hear Democrats do that, it turns me off. Of course, I'm not expecting Republicans to do anything for me. Besides possibly making some policies where I can go start a business and make that business grow. That's about all they're going to do for me. I can get some good tax write-offs with Republicans in office. I know that. I know how to work that. But those tax write-offs are going to be there, whether it's Republican or Democrat in office. It don't matter.
Well, both of you guys are correct. So let me be grammatically and politically correct. Does voting matter? Yes. Should you vote? Sure. But at the end of the day, the old adage, they say, sweep around your own front door and God blesses the child that has his own. David Peaston talked about that. So no matter what, find people that you can. It's in there. It ain't under there, David Peaston, but it's in there. But we have to, like we're having shows like this or shows that you guys are doing. We have to help but so many times in times past, we were more divided now than we were back in the day. Anderson and the various different other people who were working, and they were going through some of the same challenges trying to get the information out. I just think that vote if you can, try to hold them accountable. But if you can, I don't know how, if you can necessarily, but like Randy said, being able to still function within your family unit, your house unit. I think, and I was just sharing this with a friend of mine earlier today. Voting's fine. They voted, thank God for the voting, but the voting still didn't fix it. Martin Luther King had to go down there, and it wasn't for the first speech, but it was for the second speech. And they killed him when he got to Memphis before he could get back and ask for the check. So it's at the end of the day, it's about economics, but we don't want to. Those things are what we say. It is fluid. Educate your children as much as you can about the history, the good, the bad, the ugly. Then educate yourself about the history, the good, the bad, the ugly, and then go forward as God is telling you to go forth and advance, because the end result of politics, my family's been in politics all my life. So in Detroit, actually, my aunt was Jackie Curry. So so I had the privilege, to serve her, help her, and, long before all of the foolish scandal came out and all that foolishness, because she was much older in age. But you just have to be able to serve the people. And a lot of times people want positions, but they don't want the responsibility. And you can hide it only for so long before people really see what you really are. But a lot of times, as Randy, you were saying it, we put so much dependability on voting and not enough dependability on making sure we do within our own house. But that's also systematic, because we have been conditioned to depend on government to do that. But if we are marching together and our houses are complete or getting complete, those make complete families. And that's a different conversation moving forward.
Voting to me is like faith, and without works is dead.
Yeah.
So you sitting up here voting, having faith in somebody to do something, but you're not putting the work, you're not putting the finances behind to say, if you don't do what we tell you to do, if you don't do what we asked you to do and what you promised us, you won't get this vote and you won't get this money. And they necessarily won't. They might be able to deal without your vote, but they're not going to deal without that money.
And that was going to be my comment, was just the two things, Eric, that you touched on. One of the things that I wanted to ask is, you had talked about we seem to be more divided now than ever. And I wanted to ask you, your thoughts on why you think that is. And then my second was just the comment when you talked about holding the folks that are voted into office accountable. And I think that Randy touched on something very important. One is, your vote of course has value. But two, definitely money. And I think that especially for people that are financial contributors to campaigns, money talks.
Mm-hmm.
You're making those financial contributions. And I don't know what the numbers are as far as Blacks who contribute to these campaigns. I mean, I know that we do, but as far as the actual numbers and money, I don't think it's the same or it matches what other groups are contributing. So I think that also, to your point earlier, Eric, you had said, well, if you can go to the club and go to church. So, if you go to the club and you buy drinks or whatever, you can also take that money and contribute, not only tithing, to the Lord, but also donating to campaigns and to candidates that are going to impact real change in your community. So that was my comment there. But going back to the first question I asked, why do you think that things are more divided now?
So I'm going to say, I'm going to use these statements. Satan gives the appearance that it's more divided because a lot of the things that are happening with God's people, Black, white, or specifically here, it's not necessarily being televised on social media or on the internet. So things are still happening. God is still making things happen or bringing light to things. And unless you are, and I'm going to say it this way, unless you're a praying person for real and God is talking to you, you don't know. But if you are a praying person and God is sharing different things, but there is balance to the spiritual and the natural. But a lot of people don't want to talk about it because a lot of the people don't know. The scripture talks about, there is a scripture in, I think it's 2 Timothy 2, and it talks about, praying that you may lead a quiet, peaceable life, praying for leadership. I think y'all was mentioning earlier, irregardless of whoever's in office, whether you can hold them accountable, you can't hold them accountable, God can hold them accountable, but I still have a job to do. I still have to pray for them as a believer. And then I have a job to do as a kingdom citizen on the planet, in earth. And if the earth is the Lord and the fullness thereof, then God is going to instruct me on how to do. But what happens is us as Black folks, since not all, but a lot of us have not had an opportunity to rule and reign. And when we get a position or those things, we wind up turning into sellouts, or we turn into Ahab and Jezebel, meaning Ahab had the position, but his powers was usurped by Jezebel. So now she was the one running things and doing things and being corrupt or what have you, because at first he was a great person and he was doing things the right way. So again, anybody can be corrupted. I done seen it over the years, but you pray for them, love on them, hold them accountable if you can, but you still have a job to do nonetheless. But a lot of things are happening. It's just happening different than what we've been accustomed to in times past. So you have to be willing to, like you were saying, going to church and seeing the young people, we have to be willing to make change. And the other thing about that too is, I think because we don't have any future thinking or plan strategy, we're not really planning that we now are going to be in the position of elder. So now I'm 53. I'm coaching and talking to younger people, and I'm not unfortunately, but I'm saying it that way. I'm an elder. I ain't the 25-year-old guy. So they're looking at me as wisdom. Or in other words, with my son, I'm teaching him, or I should be teaching him about a future possibly that I might not see.
You know, the
most of the time
thing,
we're teaching. Yeah, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was saying, you know, that you were saying about you being a 55-year-old, and the saddest thing in our community that I see is that, and it's perpetual and it continues to go around and around and around, is that you're a 55-year-old man talking to the 25-year-olds. Those 25-year-olds are going to be the same. They're going to be 55 one day, and they're going to be talking to the 25-year-olds. And you know what they're going to be saying? Almost exactly the same thing you were saying. Now they still going to be saying the same thing then. And the sad part about that is that means nothing has changed.
Well,
we can listen to.
But here's the deal, Randy. So some things have changed, just like we were talking earlier. It has changed. It's just so the bigger problem is we are looking for one person that we can look to, and God is using multiple people to gain multiple information so that you can go forward to do the thing that you're supposed to do. Like your podcast you're doing. And I talk to you all the time. You know, when we talk, sometimes I'll be like, I don't know if I want to call Randy, because I'm going to call Randy and Randy going to bless me out. Not meaning you cussing at me, but you're saying something to me that God already said to me that I should be doing. But in my mind, I'm thinking I'm not equipped, or I don't have it, or I'm not this, or I'm not that. But that still don't take away from the conversation that me and God had, who said he can do it. Do it with whatever you got. When we talked about property and real estate. Moses, God didn't ask Moses if he was fully qualified. Matter of fact, Moses came up with a 50 million excuses. And he was like, okay, fine. Since you act like you don't stutter, I'm going to give you your brother. All right. But you still got to go do the thing that God tell you to do. But now he got revelation and now he has to do. But moving back to your statement, it's happening. It's not what we accustomed to back then looking for. There's another scripture that comes up. It said, and I think it's in Proverbs, it says, the heart of the king is in the hand of the Lord, and the Lord turns it whichever way he sees fit. Well, most of the people don't know what the will of God is and don't know what the word of God is. So how the heck are you going to be praying and do the right stuff? You can't. You know, okay, we put Biden in office. Great. He's still acting a nutcase. We put Trump in office. Okay, he doing good for business, you know. So, but at the end of the day, I mean, factually speaking, name me what president that has ever been in favor of this minority community that we call Blacks or African Americans?
Not a one. Not
the jury's out. Right. And then the case, even when we put someone in office, you know, there's all this information and history out, but he was still, you know, kind of structured where he really couldn't pour no power into our community, so to speak. So again,
it's able to pour power to another community. He was able to pour power to another community. I'm not going to
and so again,
we might get kicked off the first show if I say the name. But he was able.
So we have to. Where's the equality? So if the equality is not there, the one thing that we have to do is go, like Killer Mike and some of the other different people, look for ways that I can improve my situation, because at the end of the day, like running a church and everything else, it requires money. But again, if you're going to put up I'm going to say, you know, I used to bowl, or still bowl somewhat, semi-pro bowler. Scared money don't win no money, and you can't win if you ain't in. And Detroit is the bowler's capital. So I made a good living bowling. But you have to be willing to put your money in and stand on that square and get up there and bowl. Once you get up there, it's up to you to make the decision.
I learned something about you new every day. So you used to bowl.
Yeah, okay. That's why you got next door to you. I used to bowl here, man. I used to bowl 3-4 times a week, and then bowl on the weekend, and then be at the bowling alley about 6 a.m. My mother was a bowler. That's where I started bowling at. She used to work for Internal Revenue, and then they used to have the league bowling, because, you know, like I said, Michigan
Did
was
you ever
is
bowl?
the bowler's capital. Huh?
Did you ever bowl Thunder Bowl?
No, no, I have yet to do that. I'm working on the 300. I was robbed by a couple of pins, and I was upset. My highest was a 279 and a 280.
I thought you asked him had you ever bowled at Thunder Bowl.
Yeah, that's what
I have bowled at Thunder Bowl.
I was about to say everybody bowled at Thunder Bowl.
That's the top bowling alley. That's the top bowling alley in the suburbs, unfortunately.
Yeah, my uncle Homer Hurd was a big time bowler, very well known.
Oh, really? Huh.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
okay, you making me pulling out my
Yeah,
I had to see his face. You know, I might have had to bowl against my cat.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
And he bowls.
Yeah, it was Thunderbolt. It was Clover Lanes.
Clover Lanes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, so I'm gonna go back.
Clover Lanes right there.
That's something interesting. I didn't even know you used to bowl, man. We should have been going bowling, man.
That's topic for a future show, Randy. Bowling and roller skating.
No, oh yeah, no doubt. that is like Black culture right there, especially for our generation.
Yeah.
But I wanted to go back to something the question you asked him, Tracy, about the us not being unified or whatever. Mm-hmm. And I agree with pretty much everything Eric said. I just wanted to add this is that I listen to a guy, a lot of people don't know who he is, but his name is Neely Fuller. I think he might be getting sick now. He's an older guy. Mm-hmm. So I haven't heard him in a while, but one of the things he used to always say is that if you don't understand white supremacy, what it is, how it works, in the way that they use it, then everything you think you know will only confuse you. And so the thing is that I think a lot of times with us as Black Americans and just Black people around the world, we don't realize how much confusion we are in. And every time, and I always tell people, I'm like, anytime I see something that I'm very confused by it, I automatically go to, white supremacy is at work. Something is going on that is trying to keep the powers that be in line. So for instance,
you could actually just say not even that subject. That would be low hanging fruit. The real hanging fruit is it is the powers that be that's trying to control the information or the flow of information or money financially. And then you know, you got to have you have to have a wealthy class, and then you have to have a poverty class, because that's what moves the economy. And most of the people are not trying to do the work. They don't. Nobody, whoever them jokers is, they don't want it to be even.
No, of course not, because you got to always have somebody to work.
One last comment.
Hey, hey, real quick before you say that, Tracy, it was an old lady. She was my mother's like godmother, and one time she asked my mom. She said, old Black lady. She said, "Hey, if you had slaves, would you have gotten rid of them?" And my mom, was like, "Yeah, I would have got rid of them. I wouldn't want to have people in slavery." And that old lady was like, "Shit, I wouldn't." Because in her mind, she was like, who wants to really work? Who really wants to work if I got other people to do all the work for?
Jesus, true.
And that was her explanation. She was like, so always remember.
That's why you teach on money. Make your money do the work.
Yeah, you have to make your money do the work. And I think that's when we start going back to politics. We have to understand that we have to get an economic base that's strong enough to where we can build structures, build education.
You have to give them all the above. All the above, and still hold them accountable if you can.
Yeah, there's 9 areas in life, and I can't name all of them right offhand right now. I will have to read it again. But education, politics, sex, war. Those are all of those that's part of that, right? That's 4. That's just 4 of them. I think justice is another one. And I can't remember the other 4. But
Randy.
Huh?
I
Say that
said
again.
that too is another future show. Talk about those items.
Yeah. So those things though, they all work together.
Mm-hmm.
And so you have to be able to put your economics together so that you can build structures where you can have education, have healthcare, have those things like for instance, like Black Wall Street was for Black people.
Mm-hmm.
But the only problem that I always see with everything that we built in the past, because a lot of people always say it ain't that we haven't done anything. We've always pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps and built stuff. We've always done it. The
We need
bootstraps that was not given to us. We've always taken something and built something.
We need that year plan, Randy.
Huh?
We need that 300-year plan.
Yeah. So yeah. And so when you start talking about building those things, you have to also make sure, because that is one of the areas of life, war. And so you have to also make sure that you build a war machine where you're building those things that when people come in and try to infiltrate your stuff, you can fight back and you can possibly win. Because if you don't do that, then you'll have the same thing that you always have. You'll build something and they'll come in and take it from you. That 300-year plan, that goes back to what he was talking about when he was talking about us not being able to see that future, because we're so used to being in poverty as a whole. Not everybody, but as a whole, we're so used to being in poverty that we're only thinking day to day. But like, I remember we were having that conversation about Chinese companies. Either it was Chinese or Japanese. I can't remember which one it was when I was reading it, but it was one of those two. They make plans 300 years out. What it was saying was that white companies in America will make plans 50 to 100 years out, but Chinese companies will make plans 300 years out. Not saying that those plans won't change. Not saying, but that's a thought process. Like 300 years, you're literally saying for this we're not worried about. That's why they're not worried about different politicians. They're not worried about any of that, because in their mind, a new politician gonna come in at any moment. But we're gonna have this plan, and this plan can change, but we got a plan, and we're gonna try to work that plan for the next 300 years, and we're gonna keep sitting at the table and keep broadening that plan out so that we can keep this business and keep this thing going. That's very interesting. And so
that's extremely spiritual. Go ahead, Trayce. I thought you was gonna say something.
Well, no, it was really just, and I think Randy touched on it, and that was, just having an agenda. We talk about accountability, but basically when having an agenda, but having a plan, having it in writing, having, the conversation to make sure that it's tweaked and it's tight, and, that becomes a living document. Everybody, is shared out. Everybody knows what it is, and also understanding, with the 300-year plan, the really mind-blowing piece of that is you understand you're not gonna be around to see that come all the way into fruition, but that you already have that in your mindset. It's not something that you're afraid of. It's not something that's holding you back. It requires that you're sharing that out with the young people, that they understand their part, and they understand that there's some pieces of it that they aren't going to be around to see. It's a generational thing. And it's very powerful. It's a powerful tool because it ensures your longevity as a group. It ensures your prosperity, but it also locks people into purpose. They know what their purpose is. They know what their role is. So, that's when you talk about wealthy thoughts, that is really kind of the foundation of having, wealthy thoughts. That it's not just about you. It's not about me. It's about
it ain't
us.
about you. That's the whole point.
Yeah, it's about we. It's about the community, and the big picture is that, God has given us a vision, and that we, as a group, are working together and making sure that we're passing that information on. I know we're out of time, but definitely I think in future shows there's other things that we can talk about, because there's some other things inherent in there as a community that I think are crippling us that we need to address. You know, there's trauma that's holding us back. The trauma of slavery, you know, is one of them. But I do think that it's very important that we talk about these things so that people can start to think about them, and we start, you know, talking about what are the solutions, what are the ways that we acknowledge, you know, these things and talk about them and come up with real and viable solutions to overcome.
Hey, look,
forward.
We ain't never out of time.
Got my vote.
We running this. We run this. This is we ain't never out of time. We do this forever. But hey, I want to say,
you got my vote.
Hey, I want to say thank y'all again for joining me
Got my
on
vote.
this first episode of Wealthy Thoughts. Hey, Eric, tell the people
Lord
how to
have
get in
mercy.
contact with you.
The easiest way to get in contact with me, because we're still working to get everything up, is by email, which is backtoheaven, BACKTOHEAVEN, 7 @gmail.com. The ministry is
right.
Back to Heaven Music Ministries or Back to Heaven Family Worship Center. I am the official apostle, pastor, psalmist, preacher, teacher, brother in Christ, here to serve the community and allow you.
Cool. Tracy, you got anything coming up that you need to tell the people about, or ways to get in contact with you if anybody needs to get in contact?
No, she got stuff coming up. She's full of revelation. She's full of revelation, you know.
You know,
she was being nice to me, Randy. I'm gonna have to call her offline.
Folks can reach me Trayce_B. I'm on Instagram. And then also, if you want to reach out to me, email me, you can reach me at Trayce Brooks, TRAYCE Brooks, BROOKS @gmail.com.
All right, cool. And as for me, Tracy, you know, you edited the book for me. Almost done with the rest of the process of the book. So we looking at tentatively the book being out Thanksgiving Day.
All right.
So tentatively, Think Success will be out Thanksgiving Day.
Ooh,
the only other thing I got going is Michael's project, which is his project with me performing on the songs that he produced. Gotcha. And so I don't have a date for that yet, but we're still working at it. You want to get in contact with me, it's going to be Randy R. Graham at Instagram, the Randy R. Graham at Twitter. And you can give me a call at 404-438-7113 if you need any real estate needs in the metro Atlanta area, and hopefully soon in Michigan too. So just give me a call, 404-438-7113. Hey, I want to say thank y'all again for joining me.
Eric, don't forget to mention your affirmations book that's on Amazon.
Oh yeah, I do. I do have an affirmations book that is. I appreciate you. I forgot about that. I do have an affirmations book on Amazon called Gratitudes and Affirmations. Hold on, let me show y'all a picture real quick. Just forgot about that.
Yeah.
Forgot about that. So that book right there.
Yes.
Yes, you can pick that book up on Amazon. Just look it up, Gratitudes and Affirmations. Randy,
I need to hang out with y'all more often. I've learned something.
And hey, we're gonna sign off now. Thank you again. What up, though?
Love to hear Grace.
Here.
All right. Have a good evening.
Love you guys.